Good morning, everybody. BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, so it's the day after the second round was complete. The Los Angeles Lakers picked up Bronny James in the second round, the 55th pick, 56th pick. I can never actually tell. I think it was 56. Also picked up a couple players, about 4 guys, 2 of which I did a little studying on, and I'm extremely excited about those prospects as well. I think it's a decent chance that they'll be a part of the preseason roster too. The dudes that I saw, I don't know about the other 2. I just have to do homework, but our scouts did great. So I'm very excited about these prospects coming in. If I could remember their names, I would be able to throw them at you right now. But as you've been clearly seeing, if you've been following my channel, I've been having short-term memory loss as it pertains to names specifically. It's just too much information going in my head. I guess I'm overloaded. But nevertheless, now we look at D'Angelo Russell. From what I understand, tomorrow is the date where he would need to come to the Lakers and let us know what his plans are for opting in or out of his contract. $19 million. 1 year would be what it is. If not, he can go off and be an unrestricted free agent, free to do whatever he chooses. Him opting in is probably in our best interest, so that we could either have him as a player if we choose to keep him, or can't move him, or decide to move him if we're able to, hopefully for something that we would be very happy with. From what I understand, I listened to ESPN. Brian Windhorst was essentially explaining that if D'Angelo Russell does not opt in, there's still a path to us being able to use our mid-level exception if LeBron James was willing to take a certain pay cut that would likely be of upwards of like $10 to $12 million. I don't know if I'm him, I'm doing that. I listened to Windhorst speak about the Lakers' point of view, which would in context basically provide the notion that LeBron James would owe the Lakers in some way because we drafted Bronny. I don't know if he's going to feel that way, especially since he's taken a hard stance against taking pay cuts in the past. If I'm him, I'm not really sure. I got to look at who they're going to bring in. Obviously, it would be important to know that they were bringing in somebody that LeBron would approve of, or that person would be a lock to sign. I just don't know who that would be. I think what's most helpful in situations like this is trade exceptions, because then you'd have money on the side to throw at a team that doesn't have to represent picks or players. I'm starting to consider trading for trade exceptions being something that the Lakers, teams in our situation, should hold as a priority, so that we don't have to jump through hoops to try to create space to make moves that will ultimately allow us to take on salary, especially within this climate, the collective bargaining agreement being as it is so very difficult to make moves. As Rob Pelinka has described to us, it's been quite a challenge to really get things going because there's so many apron type language. You can't cross over this tax apron. Like, even if you wanted to, they don't allow for it, or you have to forego picks if you do it twice or something weird like that. So they really forbid breaking like 10 different rules as it pertains to tax aprons, as opposed to what it used to be around 4, from what I understand. So the challenge for the Lakers is to not only put together a good team, but to just be able to execute a deal, because some of the restrictions in this bargaining agreement makes it so that you can't trade with certain teams, even if the salaries match for whatever reason. If your team and that team has something in common that isn't allowed, then you can't make the trade with them, even if you both agree. So it's a lot of restrictions. I'm hopeful that they will see this as a bit too complex and will opt out of this collective bargaining agreement this upcoming year. I think that's what they're able to do. From what I understand, when they signed it, it was a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal with the option at the end of the second year or something like that. So they could go back to the drawing board very soon, and I want them to do that. I just think they made it a little too difficult to build a team in this era. Balance is what I would request. A little more balance, man. Now that we've seen how this worked out, can we clear it up a little bit so that we have a little bit more maneuverability? It shouldn't be this difficult to make moves if it's in the team's best interest to do so. So it's just extremely restrictive, extremely it keeps you locked in. So with all that being said, I don't know if LeBron James is going to see to it that he takes a pay cut knowing that the collective bargaining agreement could quickly change, and then suddenly that pay cut would not have been as necessary anymore, but still in place as the years progress forward. So, a lot of that's hypothetical. You don't know if they're going to opt out of this collective bargaining agreement. You don't know if most owners are unhappy with how things are going. It is very restrictive, but it's just the same makes it restrictive for your opponents, so that can be a positive in some people's eyes. But nevertheless, it's very difficult to move around. So that's what I'm considering, as I would wonder if I would be willing to take a pay cut if I were Bron. At the end of the day, as I said yesterday on my Laker video, reacting to Bronny's drafting, I think it would make a lot of sense for LeBron James to have the Lakers asset class more so protected in his mind. Make it so that you're being more cautious with what you do, because it's no longer just about your career, it's about your sons who could surpass you here in LA, as you would imagine. So, unless it's about keeping him and then we're going to waive Bronny the moment Bron is gone, you probably want to make sure that our assets are straight so that he can have a nice path to a good future with this franchise, or a maneuverable future for things to be done around him. So I just think that that's something that Bron should consider differently. Obviously, his timeline is right now, but Bronny's timeline is most definitely tomorrow. And so I know Anthony Davis needs to be considered as well. I'd love to hear what he has to say about all of this, and so on and so forth. So that's what we're paying attention to. We want to see what D'Angelo Russell's going to do, and of course LeBron James as well. Everyone assumes he's going to opt in. I don't see a reason why he wouldn't. Bronny's in place. I don't see any path where he doesn't resign at this point. So I project that being basically a lock. Now, to what degree will he sign, or if the Lakers could the Lakers do something to make his negotiation process go left? Obviously, it's possible, but I just don't see that going down. I think he will sign, and if I'm a betting man, I'll say that he will consider a pay cut of some sort, but probably not as much as maybe we think or we would want, but maybe. So that's really what it is, man. I heard of a nice trade this morning. Had nothing to do with the Lakers, but Tim Hardaway Jr. went to the Detroit Pistons, and Quentin Grimes goes back to Dallas with a couple of second rounders, I believe, 3 second rounders maybe. Don't remember the pick equity there, but those were the players moved. Seemed like a pretty good deal for both sides. I know Tim Hardaway Jr. and his family were ready for him to move on from Dallas. I saw a tweet that his father had wrote, responding to someone who had said something funny about, your son is on his way out of here, and his dad said, yeah, we are, and we can't make to move on. We want to go into a better situation, or a different situation, or something of that wording. So they were tired of how they were used in that situation, specifically Tim Hardaway Jr. not being able to play as much as he should have in the finals, but from what I understand, he hadn't been playing well. So that's why he was benched. Whatever the case may be, I think he goes to Detroit and provides a specific need, which is three-point shooting, consistent spacing of the floor. So I think he's going to be a much more needed and appreciated prospect there in Detroit than he was in Dallas. I think he'll be happy there. And Quentin Grimes is a guy I've liked a lot since the New York Knicks days. New York sent him to the bowels of Detroit, and it ain't really been working out. I think he was dealing with some type of injury or something. I'm sure he's having a stronger offseason this year now that he's healthy, and he's coming into a winning situation, so I'm pretty sure he's going to rekindle his career rather quickly. He's a good player. Speaking of quickly got his deal. I think it was $175 for 5 years. One of the more milder deals on the market today when you consider all this type of money that's been going around. It's just a different day. You got to elevate what you would expect a normal contract to be. So Quickly is a guy who I think has star ability. He's shown himself to be a hell of a scorer, a microwave scorer. and he seems to have fit in well with Toronto. And I think based on the climate of the contracts that are going around, his contract seems fair, to be honest with you. 175, 5 years is pretty decent at this point for a player that has the ability that I think he does for the franchise that he's in. I do understand that the Toronto Raptors have committed a hell of a lot of money to their core, and that core was together last year, not winning a whole lot. So I think they are destined to be pretty much stuck in the mud because of what they've done. I don't dislike any of their prospects, but I don't think they're good enough to win. I don't think Barrett, Quickly, Scotty, and who else they have? Olenek. They picked up Jacoby Walter. I just don't think that's a winning team. I think those are nice pieces, but the upside doesn't seem like a championship to me. So I don't know what to do in that situation because, like I said, I like all those prospects, but together they don't make up a very amazing Eastern Conference contender or nothing like that. I don't think the ceiling is much more than probably 7th seed, 6th seed. So they committed a lot of money and a lot of years to what they have. And I've always been on record saying Masai Ujiri is one of the best GMs in the league, but I really haven't understood most of the moves that he's been making over the last couple of years. I really haven't understood those. But I think he got a good return for OG Anunoby, and those picks are going to help them in the future. Hopefully they can strike it rich with some of those guys, or maybe one of those picks can be a star, and that'll really send them where they need to be. But they're over the tax apron, I'd imagine, with all that they've done over the last couple of days, signing people. And I just don't know exactly what they expect. You know what I mean? I don't see it. I don't see a champion there. I don't see anything even close to that. So, yeah, man, I expect for them to run out there, play as well as they can, and then identify that they're not a champion, and then probably try to make some moves as to which it may be a little difficult to do so. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I don't see it, man. Maybe Jacoby Walter can turn into Ray Allen or Bradley Beal, and that could change everything. But anything short of that, I don't think the ceiling's all that high on what they've spent about $600 million on. And in my mind, I don't get that. So that's just what I think there. Back to the Lakers. Obviously, we're excited about Dalton Connect. Still listening to a lot of commentary. Most people say we aced the draft. I don't think it's too many people that don't think that's a fantastic pick. What I am frustrated about ain't got nothing to do with Dalton Connect. What I'm frustrated about surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers is the Bronny James commentary. On a personal level, I find myself not wanting to listen to it for too long. Because people are trying their very best to balance between the most obvious perception that this is nepotism and the notion that this player is not ready and probably would not have been drafted unless if his name wasn't Bronny. And it just seems like the commentary is almost like, and I don't know the right word, but it's almost like they're speaking to the obvious and trying their very best not to insult all of us by saying, yo, we want the player because of his attributes and he brings this to the table, but more so that it's a historic thing that we feel we want to do as an organization, or it's a historic thing that the Lakers wanted to do if you're speaking about them in the media. And I just feel like the commentary is gaslighty-ish. It's like, I get it. Nobody actually thinks this guy should be here, but we're all happy he's here because we love his dad and appreciate his dad. I just don't think it speaks very highly of what he can actually do on the basketball floor. And if people don't believe he can really do anything on the basketball floor, then the commentary surrounding that lends itself to that in an exaggerated way, it seems. It's almost like we're trying so hard not to say we don't believe in this player. And for me, I just don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather not hear anything. Granted, the conversation needs to be had because it's a big star, big media, draw and all of that. But I think the kid can play some basketball at a high level when developed. And I think he has specific attributes that are worth talking about. I really do. His athleticism, his defense, his ability to shoot the ball. I think they're all at a base level that you can build toward being an NBA player. So when I hear people speak about the historic aspect of it and not mention any of those attributes, it's almost like they didn't study the player. It's almost like they didn't even look into him. It's almost like they feel like they're signing, Thanasis Antetokounmpo or something. You know what I mean? This is not Thanasis, y'all. And that's what I want to say about Bronny James. I watched some lowlights of Thanasis last night. I don't expect any of that ineptitude from Bronny James. I think Bronny James is a smart basketball player, a good base level developing player that has some attributes that I think a team would want. Defensively, especially, and his athleticism at 6'1" is remarkable. And I think that the weight that he's put on, he looks like a mini version of his father. And I think if he continues to put on healthy muscle, he's going to be an extremely explosive athlete. Somewhere along the ballpark of Eric Bledsoe with better competence on the defensive end, because Bledsoe is not a good defensive player. I think because his father is who he is, he's probably been closer to the game than a lot of people would expect, playing over the years at with his dad being in place to help coach him along and teach him certain things. And I'm actually curious to see him on a basketball floor to know exactly what he can and cannot do, because I didn't watch him at USC. I know he was coming off the heart thing, which I think did affect his stock in a negative way. And I just think that a year removed from that, if his work ethic is as good as people say it is, he can get the most out of himself and maybe actually turn into a nice player for our team. So while I did see other players on the board, I've heard the commentary about most of the people who were drafted after him probably ain't gonna make it in the league. I would have normally said that, but I actually know who those two of the three people were. Ulrich Chomsky and Kevin McCullough, and they just so happened to fall further than I probably would have taken them in the second round. I would have taken Chomsky with an early 40 pick. I would have taken McCullough as early as the early second round or the end of the first round if he were healthy. So I know who we left on the board, and that's important to state here. But all in all, I just feel like the conversation surrounding Bronny is almost like they're toying around with the idea that they need not insult all of us because everybody knows he can't play. So let's just talk about the historic aspects of it and how happy we are that we're doing something special in LA. And I just don't like it. I don't like the commentary. I want to talk about what the player can do, because I think there are some things that he can do. He's not built like me, and here comes, my father bringing me into the league. No, this dude is an athlete, a very, very, very special athlete with the 6th highest vertical leap in the combine. A careful basketball player on the court who looked pretty damn strong at USC in the times that I saw him down there. Somebody who had a good high school career as a guard on both sides of the floor with a lot of explosiveness. So it's just like, there were players in this class that I believe were worse than Bronny James. And I've only heard one other person say that. But there were some dudes there that I would have taken Bronny over. So they didn't get drafted either. So, it is what it is, man. I think at the end of the day, there were a lot of good, talented players that we didn't draft with our pick. But that was going to be the case anyway. And we're finding that the undrafted pool is rather talented, and that's just how it goes. So that's what I want to say. I just want to hear more about Bronny James on the basketball floor. I want to know what he can do. I need to know what he wants to work on. I need to see him in the G League. I don't want him to just fly up the boards and just go into being our first guy off the bench without actually developing. I think that all that sets him up for failure, and I don't think the media or the desires of the media attention should dictate how he is used as an NBA player on our basketball team. I really don't. I think he should be able to be forced to work for it, and I don't think that would be too hard for him to do, because from what I understand, his work ethic is exemplary. So I know he doesn't have to do this, as many people have joked about. He's not trying to get his family out the hood or nothing like that. So, passion is driving this young man, and the desire to to live out his father's dream as well, I'd imagine. But I think the commentary about him just solely around the idea that we're bringing Bron to play with his son doesn't give a true service to the notion that there is an athlete there who's worked hard on his craft and ain't just jumping off the couch because of his dad. That's basically what I want to say. So that's pretty much my thought, man. I got a lot of things to do today. I can't really make this video as long as I'd like it to, but that's really the thought. I just think that when it comes to Bronny James, I'd like the commentary to change. I can't wait for somebody to come around and for him to play well so people can start talking about his game, or play poorly so people can start talking about his game, although he probably won't get that much commentary if he plays poorly. But point is, I want to see what he can do. And if I determine, with independent of all this commentary, that he really can't play, then I'll tell you that. Like, yo, this guy don't have no upside. But I've never thought that. And watching highlights of him from high school especially, I never thought that. I always thought that was a real NBA player. And his brother will be as well, I think. So that's pretty much my thought on things. I don't think this guy has would be not trying to chase down the NBA dream if his name was something else and he still had these attributes. I think he would probably be still trying to work on getting in the NBA just like so many other prospects all over the world. So I think he's a career basketball player. And with the strength that he's put on, I think he can play with pros, man. I think he can play with pros. If not in the NBA, then definitely in G League or overseas situations. His body is built like his dad's. So that's where this base is going to be, I think, is to see if he can develop into that type of athlete, see if he has that type of durability, if he can stay, be an Iron Man and not miss too many games early in his career like his father. Does he take from his father in that way? These are things that I'm most interested in. Does he have his father's smarts for the game? Does he have different attributes or weaknesses that we need to be pointing out and working on? How quickly does he develop? How well does he take to the circumstances being in this locker room? All of these things are more interesting to me than just we wanted to make history because we're the Lakers. We make history and pretty much would have signed him even if he was me. Like, nah, I don't want to hear that. That's bull crap to me. I think that does a disservice to the athlete. So that's pretty much what I got to say. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.